Mr. Chairman, I'm Yves Gonzalez, Head of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google in the Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Please proceed, Attorney Gonzalez.
Mr. Chairman, good morning. So once again, I'm Yves Gonzalez, Head of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google in the Philippines. It's an honor to be able to share with you today how YouTube combats the spread of misinformation on the platform using our 4Rs responsibility framework. This is something that we consider core to our responsibility work. It is a complex and difficult challenge, but something that we're committed to tackling. YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice and show them the world. Over the past 20 years, YouTube has grown into a platform where billions of monthly users are sharing and learning from one another with over 500 hours of video uploaded every minute. YouTube addresses the challenges of misinformation using the 4Rs responsibility framework. Remove content that violates YouTube's policies, raise up authoritative sources for news and information, reduce recommendations of borderline content, and reward trusted creators. By employing this framework, YouTube seeks to balance its commitments to preserving an open internet and being a positive contributor to a safe, healthy, and well-informed society. Certain types of misleading or deceptive content with serious risk of egregious harm are not allowed on YouTube and are removed. This includes certain types of misinformation that can cause real-world harm, election misinformation, and medical misinformation. General misinformation includes certain types of technically manipulated content that can cause real-world harm, such as content that has been technically manipulated or doctored in a way that misleads users and may pose a serious risk of egregious harm, for example, deepfakes. Misattributed content that may pose a serious risk of egregious harm by falsely claiming that footage from a past event is from a current one, which experts on this committee have previously referred to as malinformation. We also prohibit certain types of content that may negatively impact free and fair democratic elections. This can include content that could materially discourage voting, content that advances false claims related to the technical eligibility requirements for current political candidates, and incitement to interfere with democratic processes. YouTube also doesn't allow content that poses a serious risk of harm by spreading medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities or the World Health Organization's guidance. Enforcing policies is a nuanced decision-making process. It is important to underscore that YouTube protects videos that have a clear educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic purpose, together called EDSA exceptions. To help determine whether a video might qualify for an EDSA exception, we look at multiple factors, including the video title, descriptions, and the context provided in the video's audio or imagery. But this is not a free pass to spread harmful misinformation or promote hateful rhetoric. Everyone is subject to our community guidelines, from private citizens to the most visible public figures. We release a quarterly community guidelines enforcement report, which gives insights into the volume of flags and actions we take on content that violates our policies and the impact that technology has in aiding that enforcement. In the third quarter of 2024, we removed over 9.1 million videos for violating our policies, 4.8 million channels, and 1.3 billion comments. In the third quarter of 2024, over 80,000 videos globally were removed for violating our misinformation policies. Content that violates our guidelines is flagged by a mix of automated detection and human reporting. Around 97% were automatically flagged by AI systems, 2% were flagged by users, and 1% flagged by organizations and government agencies. In addition to removing content that violates our policies, we also track the percentage of views on YouTube that are generated by this content. We refer to this metric as the violative view rate, or VVR. VVR is our North Star for measuring our progress on removing content that violates community guidelines as quickly as possible. In the third quarter of 2024, the VVR was 0.11% until 0.12%, meaning that for every 10,000 views of content on YouTube, only 11 to 12 of those views are of violative content. YouTube also elevates authoritative sources for news and information and provides context for viewers. YouTube raises authoritative voices for newsworthy events in search results and watch panels. Another example is the breaking news shelf. When a major breaking news event happens, the breaking news shelf appears directly on the homepage, featuring relevant videos from authoritative news sources. Similarly, if a viewer searches for a particular news topic on YouTube, they will see a top news shelf near the top of the results, featuring relevant videos from authoritative sources. The same goes for health-related searches. When you search for a specific topic, such as diabetes, for example, our health content shelf will highlight videos that come from authoritative sources. YouTube also equips our users with additional context to help them make their own decisions about the content that they consume. To do this, YouTube highlights text-based information about certain events, topics, and publishers from third-party sources using information panels across YouTube. This can be related to evergreen topics prone to misinformation or to provide information about the publishers themselves, for example, whether they are funded in whole or in part by a government. Across all of these topics, we aim to surface content that will be helpful to individual users. YouTube now also requires creators to disclose to viewers when realistic content a viewer could easily mistake for a real person, place, scene, or event is made with altered or synthetic media, including generative AI. Labels that reflect this disclosure will then appear. For most videos, a label will appear in the expanded description. But for videos that touch on more sensitive topics like health, news, elections, or finance, YouTube will also show a more prominent label on the video itself. In some cases, YouTube may also add a label even when a creator hasn't disclosed it, especially if the use of altered or synthetic content has the potential to confuse or mislead viewers. Just as we work to raise authoritative content where accuracy and authoritativeness are key, we also strive to reduce the spread of content that, while not violating our policies, can still misinform users in harmful ways. This might include conspiracy theory videos or content that brushes the line of what is acceptable. While this content can remain on YouTube, we don't recommend it to users or surface it prominently in search results. Finally, for 15 years, YouTube has had a revenue sharing model, the YouTube Partner Program or YPP. YouTube views monetization on its platform as a privilege. Creators must be accepted into YPP to be eligible to monetize their content. A key eligibility requirement for YPP is to follow YouTube's monetization policies, which include our community guidelines, terms of service, and advertiser-friendly guidelines. These policies apply to creators' channels as a whole and not just to individual videos. Over the past few years, YouTube has taken steps to strengthen the requirement for monetization so that spammers, impersonators, and other bad actors can't hurt the system or take advantage of creators meeting the eligibility requirements. Because of this unique model, YouTube has a natural, long-term incentive to live up to its responsibility. Advertisers, viewers, creators, and media partners do not want to be associated with harmful content. YouTube works hard every day to make the right calls on balancing openness and responsibility, and its advertisers, users, and creators hold YouTube accountable. For more information, we are sharing these 3 links for the benefit of the committee. With that, thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to share our inputs with this committee today. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Yves Gonzalez. Would there be any questions from the members of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification.
Yes, Laura Barber's recommendation.
Yes, Attorney Gonzales, would you be able to tell this committee kung how many of our vloggers or the ones that use the YouTube social media platform are able to monetize? Would you be able to tell us that? And if you can, what is the ballpark figure of the amount of the revenues that these vloggers make?
Mr. Chairman, I think tens of thousands of Filipino creators are in the YouTube partnership program.
And all of them are monetizing?
Once you are in the YouTube partnership program, then that means that you are monetizing your content.
And would you be able to tell us, give us a ballpark figure as to how much revenues do these vloggers make?
I think the Google, as a public company, is able to disclose its revenues, but I would not have the ability to give you the specific details for the Philippines.
I understand, yeah. But the reason why I asked that, Mr. Chair, is because we'd like to find out what motivates the vloggers, the so-called vloggers. I'm not generalizing, but what I'm saying is that there are very few of them who actually are motivated by the monetization by these social media platforms. And the only objective is to generate engagements, a higher number of engagements, in order to convert this to cash. Tama, di ba? I think that's the motivation of some of these vloggers who peddle fake news. And you know naman how it is, no? When a fake news is being posted online, people has different reactions. One would probably, if one sees it, probably would say, totoo ba ito? Or the other would say, ay, totoo ito. Kasi galing ito kay ganyan. Or would say na, teka nga, tanong ko nga kay ipasa ko ito. So that creates engagements and increases the number of people who actually has seen a post that could be fake or could be false. So, anong mechanism meron si YouTube to be able to limit, if not eliminate, these kinds of peddling of falsehoods?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to share some relevant provisions of the advertiser-friendly guidelines which all YouTube creators need to comply with. So some of the things prohibited are inappropriate language, shocking content, hateful and derogatory content, as well as incendiary and demeaning content.
Does YouTube recognize vulgar languages or let's say yung pagmumura? Does YouTube consider this as obscene, vulgar, therefore gives them the right to take it down?
In certain cases, that might fall under incendiary and demeaning. So let me just read what is stated. Content that is gratuitously incendiary, inflammatory, or demeaning may not be suitable for advertising.
Okay, so kasi the reason why I asked that, parang it seems that napapabayaan natin yung mga nagmumura eh. Di ba? Kung yung taong na nagmumura, na gumagamit, nagpo-post ng kanilang mga content online ay nagmumura, karakter na ho nila yon. Maaaring pinalaki sila ng mga magulang nila na pinayagan silang magmura. Pero the question is there a mechanism? Yung YouTube ba, pagka nakita niyang nagmumura, kahit man lang sana yung toot, diba? Yung mayroong, ano tawag doon? Yung imbis na patuloy yung nagmumura, parang yung parang ini-stop yung word na yon or something. Meron ba kayong ganong mechanism?
So as mentioned, if the content of the creator is already violative of our advertiser-friendly guidelines, YouTube might enforce some monetization policies.
Yeah, but do they recognize yung vulgar languages na Tagalog, which gives them a ground to take it down? Do they recognize that?
YouTube does have language experts in Filipino and other local dialects.
So these are not AI generated. Kumbaga, hindi nila translate. Walang mechanism na
we use a
ganun.
combination of both machine learning and AI assisted technologies, but at the same time we also do have human reviewers who are fluent in the local dialects.
So human reviewers. So it's still dependent pa rin siya sa mga human reviewers.
Combination, Your Honor.
Okay, kasi alam mo, I'm sure you will agree with me na maraming mga vloggers na para lang maka-generate ng mapansin ka nga, no? Nagmumura, no? In fact, bastos di ba? Hindi naman natin sila masisisi o hindi natin masisisi kung paano sila pinalaki ng kanilang mga magulang dahil siguro pinalaki silang bastos di ba? Yun nga ang sinabi sa akin ni Congressman Marcoleta na hindi dapat ganun. Dahil alam mo, tinuturuan natin yung ating mga anak na maging magalang, di ba? Na maging respectful. Hindi yung bulgar na bastos. Di ba, aling batikusin ka, huwag ka lang magmumura. Kasi subukan mong sabihin sa akin harapan yung ganun. Anong makiramdam mo? Di ba? Pero kung online, kung magmura, akala mo ang tapang. Di ba? Kaya nga sabi ni Congressman Marcoleta sa akin, hindi dapat pinapayagan yung mga ganun. Because we have laws. Lalo na kung defamatory. Tapos may kasama pang mura. Bakit hindi kayo magmura harapan, di ba? Pumunta kayo rito, hanapin nyo kami, magmura kayo, something like that. Tingnan natin ano mangyayari. Away itong mangyayari. Kung magharap-harapan kahit nagmumurahan kayo, di ba? Alam mo naman, hindi naman normal yung ganun. Ngayon, because of the advent of social media, people like, perhaps, maybe expressing their dissent, or maybe dislike to a person, to an institution, to an organization by using vulgar language. Di ba? Siguro, pagka ganun yung tao na mura ng mura, hindi mo naman natin masabing walang pinag-aralan yun. Wala lang pinagkatandaan malamang, no? At hindi dinidisiplina ng magulang niya. Kawawa ang magulang nun. Nakakahiya. Di ba? Nakakahiya na yung anak mo, bastos, ganyan. Kung magsalita pa ng mga kabastusan, parang walang anak na mga babae. And that is the reason why I asked that if ever there are mechanisms in that social platform that can control that. If not, that's fine. That's okay. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, so let me reiterate, all content monetizing with ads must follow our advertiser-friendly content guidelines. And one of the advertiser-friendly guidelines is inappropriate language. Content that contains profanity or vulgarity at the start or throughout the majority of the video may not be suitable for advertising. And some of the enforcement mechanisms that can happen to a creator that violates these policies are, number one, withhold, adjust, chargeback, or offset earnings or payment. Number two, limit ad revenue from the video. Number three, suspend participation in the YouTube Partnership Program. And finally, suspend or even terminate the YouTube channel.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Chair. I hope you don't mind. My colleagues would not mind. I just wanted to ask, why do you monetize? Why? What is the logic behind monetization? Because if you monetize, this probably is the main motivator or the main motivation of these people who are engaged in these kinds of ads in the YouTube. Bakit kayo nagmo-monetize?
Mr. Chair, monetization through advertising is what pays for the service. So the ability for YouTube to be able to provide a free service to billions of people all around the world is supported by advertising.
So basically, it's advertising.
That's correct, Mr.
So
Chair.
commercial. Tama? So talagang generation of revenues. Di ba? So that's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney.
Any other member who would like to ask questions from Attorney Gonzalez?
Mr. Chair, not a question, but a clarification.
Clarification?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify for the committee, wala po yung TikTok and ano po yung isa pa natin? Si Facebook. Mr. Chair, just to clarify, wala pong Facebook and TikTok attending po today, no?
Comsec?
This is the excuse letter from the legal counsel representing Meta Platform. The
To answer your question, Your Honor, we have invited the Meta Platform Incorporated, which has Facebook. And according to their letter, Facebook Philippines does not own, operate, control, or host the Facebook services or the Instagram services in the Philippines. So I think, Your Honor, we have to send an invitation to Meta Platform Incorporated in the United States.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We just wanted to see clarification po, no? What other platforms are here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They also asked to be excused. They are in Singapore. The entire communications. Excuse po sila. Nasa Singapore po sila.
Okay? Thank you. Before we proceed, please allow the Chair to recognize the presence of the Honorable Franz Castro and online, the Honorable Arnan Panaligan. Welcome po kayo sa hearing.
Sir Chair. I have
Yes,
yeah.
Before you proceed, Your Honor, and online we also have the presence of the Honorable Romanti Romulo. Please proceed, Honorable Castro.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Follow-up lang, Mr. Chair, dun sa questions ni Representative Barbers as regards to the monetization of content sa online, no? Particularly YouTube, right? So, I'm just curious po. So, namamonetize po yung, depende yun sa viewers, tama ba? Or sa advertisement na pumapasok doon sa content noong content creator. Are you saying? Kasi sabi niyo po, namamonetize yung mga content noong mga creators.
Apo.
So based doon sa mga pumapasok na advertisement. So the whole thing is advertisement. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, monetization happens primarily through advertisements that appear on videos either before or in the middle of the video.
Yeah, so who got to pay or who pay the content creator? Kasi 'di ba sinasabi na ma-monetize. So sino ang nagbabayad sa kanila?
Si Google LLC po, the main entity based in the United States, is the one that pays our
So
YouTube
in
creators.
dollar
Yes, Mr. Chair.
converted to peso. So would you know paano po nakukuha yung tax? So kung merong mang tax na nade-derive from that income sa mga content creator, would you know, Sir Chair?
Mr. Chair, so the creators nominate a bank account for their earnings, and the creators would usually be the ones to voluntarily declare their taxes with their local Internal Revenue Service.
So lahat po ng nababayarang mga content creator, are you monitoring din po kung they are paying taxes to our government?
Mr. Chair, on the part of YouTube, we do not, and we believe that the local Internal Revenue Service are the ones who are monitoring that.
So do we have, Mr. Chair, invited guests from the BIR or resource person from the BIR, Mr. Chair?
We have, Your Honor.
So may I ask the BIR, how do you monitor po yung mga income, mga taxes derived from the income generated by the content creator, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, as stated by our colleague, we rely only on the voluntary declaration of the influencers insofar as their income because there will be great difficulty in monitoring the same, considering that their income primarily comes from foreign income payers. So what we do, Mr. Chair, is we audit and investigate the influencers, and we request data from the foreign tax jurisdictions who we have existing treaties of exchange of information with, and we cross-check or we compare the information that we receive from foreign tax jurisdictions or the other countries and their declared income tax returns. And from there, we determine how much they really earn and how much they really declared. That's Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, at the BIR, are we not doing our job well or we remiss? Kasi bakit sinasabi yung voluntary? Kasi andyan naman yung yung platform, yung Google Philippines o yung YouTube. You can ask from them yung mga list ng mga nagge-generate ng income. So bakit nag-aantay tayo ng voluntary from the content creator? 'Di ba, Mr. Chair, meron na tayong naipasang batas for that. So can you clarify that, BIR? So pwede po bang parang hindi po kasi ako satisfied doon sa voluntary lang na na ginagawa. At kayo naman ay parang nag-aantay lang.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, under existing tax laws, we cannot just investigate any taxpayer. As per existing tax laws, audits are done randomly or based on those who are classified as high risk. Classified as high risk. That is why we cannot just audit any taxpayer. So we prioritize those who are only classified as high risk.
So why not? Baka merong loopholes, Mr. Chair, doon sa ating batas, doon sa BIR. Kasi nga, di ba gusto natin talaga na to generate revenue from those engagements. So, yun na po, Mr. Chair, yung follow-up natin sa YouTube. So, yun na lang po, Mr. Chair. Baka in our in aid of legislation, we have to review yung sinasabi ng ating BIR resource person na wala doon sa kanilang mandate, yung talagang regular ba o random lang yung kanilang pag-investigate and monitoring, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor. BIR, what exactly is the law governing this?
Mr. Chair, the tax code as amended and our implementing rules and regulations, or the revenue regulations, Mr. Chair.
Are you aware of Revenue Memorandum Circular Number 97-2021?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
O hindi po ba yun yung, ano po ba ang title ng Memorandum Circular na yun?
Mr. Chair, taxation of any income received by social media influencers.
So it's very specific na ito ang kwan. Sinusunod po ng BIR
Yes, Mr. Chair.
vis-a-vis tax payments of social media influencers.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, may I know if you have been implementing this since 2021?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Could you please submit to this committee a report of how many social media influencers have been taxed by BIR?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We will submit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a clarification again sa YouTube. No? Paano nagkakaroon ng monetization? May required number of views, shares, hours? Please educate us. How do they monetize that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, let me just share some of the requirements for the YouTube Partnership Program. So, number one, definitely the first is to follow the YouTube channel monetization policies. Some of it I've provided. In terms of technical eligibility, so the requirement is, number one, get 1,000 subscribers with 4,000 valid public watch hours in the last 12 months. So again, 1,000 subscribers with 4,000 valid public watch hours in the last 12 months.
Oh, wait, question. So, assuming I put up my own YouTube channel ba, is that what you call it?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
And then I must have, what, 1,000 subscribers
That's the first step.
and
Mr. Chair.
4,000 hours of
4,000 valid public watch hours. And when we say
Watch
this,
hours.
Mr. Chair, kasi for example, if your watch hours are bots, then that would not be a valid public watch hour. If you're trying to game the system,
Would you be able to determine whether these are bots or not?
so YouTube would have the necessary technical capabilities.
So you have that technical capability.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ang tanong, next question, ano naman ang accountability halimbawa ng YouTube? Assuming that your channel is being used as a purveyor of fake news. And then you discovered that merong anong accountability ng platform?
So, Mr. Chair, again, I guess depends on the jurisdiction that would be concerned. So, for example, Mr. Chair, if of course, Mr. Chair, it would be different if the channel is in the United States versus in Singapore, for example, which has POFMA, as discussed in the previous hearing. So, Mr. Chair, depends on the laws in the jurisdiction of the channel concerned.
And it's like, it's as if you're saying that we're helpless in trying to impose accountability to the platform kapag ka ito ay abroad. No?
No, Mr. Chair, no naman. I'll give an example, Mr. Chair. The Philippines passed a law against OSAIC, expanded OSAIC law. And on the expanded OSAIC law, there are specific platform obligations on that law. And so in that specific expanded OSAIC law, it imposes liability and accountability on the platforms that could host OSAIC content.
Okay. For those companies that advertise sa YouTube, no, do they pay you? Do they pay YouTube?
They pay YouTube, the platform operator. Yes, sir. Yes,
So they
Mr.
do.
Chair. Yes,
So
Mr. Chair.
assuming a company of Congressman Marcoleta advertises in your platform, they should pay you. They must pay you.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And do you pay taxes for that?
So Google as a company, so of course the mother company, Google LLC. So every Google entity pays the proper taxes in the jurisdiction where it operates.
So in that case, you're paying taxes to the BIR.
For every Google entity, it pays the taxes, the correct legal taxes in the country. So for the Philippines, Mr. Chair,
Yes or no?
Yes,
lang.
yes.
Yes, you're paying. So you
Yes.
have records of tax payments to our BIR.
yes.
Okay. BIR, is that true? Can you monitor how many ads that the platform actually gains? BIR? Parang kayo mismo, hindi nyo alam eh.
Wala.
Ano ba naman?
Hindi nga alam yung circular.
Ayan, use the mic beside you.
Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair, insofar as the ad revenue specifically,
So you monitor how many ads, magkanong payments nila, and you have that record sa BIR.
no, Mr. Chair, unfortunately.
Paano yun? Yes, sige, attorney. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so Google, the entities in the Philippines, Google Philippines, and other entities in the Philippines, they do not own nor operate the YouTube platform. And so that's why the taxes that we pay to the BIR are the ones only proper to the local entities, so not the advertising. So the advertising is done not by the platform is not operated by the local entity.
But you make money out of the ads that are being shown in the channel, right? Sa platform nyo.
Google LLC does.
Yes, just my example is that when, let's say, the company of Congressman Marcoleta magkaroon ng ad sa inyo, he has to pay you.
Mr. Chair, not Google Philippines, not Google Philippines.
That's
So
a-
who
that's a-
does he pay to?
Mr. Chair, that's a very legitimate area of inquiry, but that's a different matter altogether.
No, Mr. Chair, with
We are
all
about
due
to
respect to
discuss
my
abusive platforms.
with
Yung
all
mga
due
tayo-
respect to my senator, Mr. Chair, the reason why I asked that, this is a relevant issue because we are contemplating on maybe perhaps asking all these social media platforms to secure a franchise in this Congress, because we want to make sure that it's not just the platforms who make money, but also the Philippine government. That's one. Number two, if you are under the franchise of this government, then you will toe the line. Sorry, I do not mean toe the line, meaning you will be subject to the regulations and then the rules that will be imposed under this law. And I think, I'm pretty sure that no less than our Senator Marcoleta would be more than willing to author that kind of a law.
Mr. Chairman.
No. Before we proceed further, please allow the
Mr.
chair
Chair.
to recognize the presence online of the following members of the committees. The Honorable Celso Regencia, the Honorable Jordan Jesus Romualdo, and the Honorable Francisco Paulo Ortega. Yes, Chairman Joboy, your
Just a quick interjection, just very germane to the question of
with the indulgence
Chairman,
of
with the
the
indulgence of
Honorable
Chairman
Joboy.
Joboy.
Yes, please
Yes, I'd
proceed.
like to ask you to, before we move on to another topic, I'd like to ask, do you have an arrangement with other platforms insofar as maintaining your guidelines and that standard where you remove violative or abusive or harmful contents, no, with other platforms? Do you have that mechanism? I mean, that arrangement?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Depending on the type of content, I'll give an example. There are
Yeah.
some, for example, for OSAIC, or what internationally is known as CSAM, there is technology sharing wherein if one platform already detects that a piece of content is CSAM, the hash of that is shared among the technology coalition. So there are coordination for particular types of illegal content.
Okay, so halimbawa lang, do you have also a uniform or universal agreement where, say for example, YouTube, kasi there are also contents uploaded on TikTok and on Facebook that can also be uploaded on YouTube. So say for example, if the content was uploaded on TikTok, tapos meron silang, you have also a shared mechanism agreement with the TikTok and in-upload doon, certain guidelines from your company might not necessarily be applied to the different companies that you have an arrangement of sharing technology, sharing information with. So paano nyo na-drive out, and how do you maintain, for example, that standard of guidelines na pag yung something that is not accepted on YouTube may not necessarily be the same with TikTok, tapos in-upload sa TikTok, tapos pupunta sa, pwede niya i-upload sa YouTube. Paano po yung ganong ano? Kasi that would also generate monetization, di ba? And that would also spell out how you would really police your own community, no? Na hindi siya maging violative doon sa mismong standard na gusto nyong i-uphold, no? I-maintain.
Mr. Chair, so every platform would have its own community guidelines.
Yes.
So every platform would have its own rules
Yes,
of the
I
road.
understand that, but how do you strike, for example, the balance between a common understanding that this kind of content, whether it's uploaded on TikTok, and therefore pwede mag-appear sa YouTube kasi mayroon kayong arrangement ng share of information, cannot also be a violative of your own standard ng pag-maintain ng healthy content at hindi siya abusive. How do you strike that balance? How do you maintain that kind of ethical standard, if we may use the term, no, in your own community?
So as Mr. Chair, as mentioned, there are certain types of content where that is possible, and that I would say CSAM/OSAEC is where
But
that
do you
is
have that
possible.
kind of mechanism where TikTok, if it's posted on, uploaded on TikTok, tapos pag i-upload sa YouTube, halimbawa, or i-share sa YouTube, violative na from the very start yung content, hindi nyo ipapakita. Do you have that kind of mechanism right now?
So, Mr. Chair, as mentioned, not for all types of content, not for all violations. Specifically, technical coordination like that happens for CSAM/OSAEC. But, for example, if it's policies as to vulgarity, for example, vulgarity, there's no
Wala, no?
technical coordination happening between the platforms with their own independent community guidelines.
Thank you. Kasi ganun po yung nangyayari eh. Hindi lang ho sa YouTube, minsan na-upload sa ibang platforms, tapos nag-appear sa ibang channels. So, sometimes, kung ano yung hindi po pwede sa kanila, tapos po pwede dun sa kabila, dun natin malalaman kung talagang napupulis ba yung kanilang ranks para hindi po violative sa kanilang community at hindi magamit ito na loophole para bawal sa'yo, dito ko nila upload since meron silang arrangement, meron silang mag-appear din sa kabilang channel. So, wala kayong ganon, no? Wala po. No? Just on record.
Mr. Chair,
Wala.
not for all types of
Okay.
content.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, the Honorable Joboy Aquino is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Gonzales, can you, on Google, no, something like broadcast, di ba? It broadcasts through sa mga, even sa cellphone, different, anything that you ask, nilalabas, no? So, ano ko lang is, dito sa Philippines, lumalabas yung sa Google. So, you have partners or Google Philippines. Diba? Is it true? There's Google Philippines. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Google
yes, Mr.
Philippines, a member of the KBP?
Mr. Chair, I do not think so, Mr. Chair. I do not believe so.
Or Google Philippines is a member of MTRCB?
Mr. Chair, we coordinate and we work closely with the MTRCB on certain issues facing the Philippines. But I don't think there's a membership for the MTRCB, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. How about, do we have KBP? I believe we have KBP here. Yeah, Attorney Jula. Member po ba ang Google?
Good morning, Your Honor. Google is not a member of the KBP. It's not a broadcast network.
Yeah. When you say broadcast, what's the difference ng broadcast dito sa radio station and dito sa Google?
In the case of radio stations and television, we make use of the frequencies, radio frequencies to transmit our content. Whereas in Google, they use IP platforms.
Yes, but may broadcast din. No?
In a loose sense, yes, but it's more...
See? Yun ang malaking nga doon diferensya. No? There's broadcast and there's viewing at the same time. Diba? That's why ang MTRCB. Now, how would being the arm of the government, no, ang MTRCB, paano natin maano yan ngayon na may broadcast and viewing, no, at the same time dyan sa Google, no? What can you say about that, attorney? Kasi ang MTRCB, ito yung mga noon pa nagawa tong MTRCB. No? Wala pa tong mga Google sa cellphone, no? Hindi pa nababago. Hindi pa na-update ng MTRCB. No, I think the MTRCB and the KBP should update, no, ang mga regulations to help the government. Kasi how would we control now?
That's
Kasi hindi
because
sila member.
Mr. Chair, that's because technology is so fast and our regulatory agencies cannot cope up. That's the problem.
Well, at least, gawin nilang trabaho nila. We have to do it. Binabayaran ng gobyerno. Gumagastos ang gobyerno. Di ba? So, we call on MTRCB and KBP na i-update po. No? Humabol tayo. Hindi tayo pwedeng nakaupo lang. No? Just like us here, even we're on vacation, we're here to listen para ma-update din natin, makahabol tayo sa mga nangyayari. No, I hope na makuha niyo yung sinasabi ko.
Yes, Your Honor. We understand the point, but there is really a wide difference between broadcast of television and radio and the use of internet protocol as a means of transmission. In fact, it's more properly netcasting than broadcasting.
Attorney, at the end of the day, ito hong lahat ang importante kay Google, kay kung sino pa man, basta nag-broadcast viewing, the end of the day, for me, it should be healthy public information. Very simple. But it seems napabayaan na rin ng gobyerno, ng agency ng gobyerno na dapat sila ang mag-regulate. Very simple to understand. Oh?
Mr. Chair, KBP is not a government agency, and membership in the KBP is voluntary. And we have, while we affiliate with content creators, it is not in the context of membership, but affiliation in the sense that we try to get content creators to adopt the standards as well as the guidelines of the KBP in content creation. Because we have members that also use internet and social media as a means of expanding the reach. And we require them to
Has to improve. Hindi ho pwedeng doon na lang tayo sa hanggang dyan na lang. While yung broadcasting, nag-i-improve. Ang KBP dapat mag-improve. Alam niyo yan eh.
Yes, the Honorable Manuel is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some questions sa representative ng Google Philippines. Mr. Chair, kapag merong content sa YouTube na nireport ng ating mga kababayan dahil tingin nila ay naglalaman ito ng disinformation or misleading
Pino user po. So, unang-una po ay titingnan po natin kung ano po yung violation na nire-report. So, for example po, magbigay po ako ng madaling example po. Pag sinabi po nung creator na patay na po yung isang kandidato. So, pag sinabi po niya patay na po si candidate X, yun po, madali pong ma-review po ng YouTube team yon dahil kailangan lang po nilang i-verify kung buhay pa ba si candidate X. Kung buhay pa si candidate X, automatic po yung content na yon ay violative of election misinformation. So meron pong mga ganong bagay. Or pag sinabi po, another example po, pag sinabi po na ang election ay sa Mayo 1, yun po ay malinaw na violation ng election misinformation policies kasi po ang election po natin ay sa May 12, di ba? So, yung pag-review po, meron pong team na nagre-review po ng content. Meron pong mga bagay na madaling i-review, meron pong mga bagay na medyo mas komplikado pong i-review. Titingnan po yung konteksto. So, importante po, for example, yung sinasabi po yung tungkol sa pagmumura. Meron po kasing pagmumura na, kunyari po, nasa isang music video. Sa mga polisiya po, malinaw po na pwede po, medyo meron pong leeway pagdating po sa mga artistic music video, for example. So, kung dun sa music video may nagmumura, may nag-report, baka po yung finding po doon, either i-allow siya, hindi po siya violative, or kung talagang medyo, medyo sumusobra naman po, pwede po either ma-remove nga po yung video, or pwede rin po siyang ma-age gate. Meron din po kasi tinatawag na age gating. So pag hindi po batay sa minor de edad yung video, pwede rin po nating i-age gate yung video para 18 and above lang po yung makakapanood po nun, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, sa review team ng YouTube, sino-sino ang mga nandun? Without mentioning names for now, ilang tao ang nandyan? Tapos sila ba ay mga Pilipino o meron ding mga foreigners na nasa review team?
Mr. Chair, so libo-libo po. Yung team po na yan ay tinatawag na Trust and Safety. So lahat po ng mga platforms meron po yan Trust and Safety teams. At kadalasan po yung mga Trust and Safety teams nakakalat po yan sa buong mundo kasi po 24/7 po ang magre-review, 'di ba? So hindi porke nag-report ka ng gabi, walang magre-review kasi po nakakalat po ang Trust and Safety sa buong mundo po yan. So kung tatanungin niyo po ako kung meron po bang Pilipino, meron po siguro somewhere sa isang opisina ng YouTube na Trust and Safety. Kasi po, yung Trust and Safety team, siguro po tens of thousands po yan of individuals all over the world who review these videos 24/7.
So Mr. Chair, ang bagit po merong tens of thousands kalat sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Pero for example, for video na nasa YouTube na ang nag-upload ay isang Pilipino, saang particular location naka-base yung mga magre-review ng ganong particular video?
Okay. Mr. Chair, maganda po ma-explain na dahil marami po mga ibang polisiya, di ba? Meron po tayong mga teams na may expertise po dyan. So for example po, meron kang teams na ang expertise po nila yung hate speech. Meron ka pong teams na ang expertise po nila yung gambling and other illegal activities. So depende po dun sa violation na kiniklaim, makakascade po dun sa team na yon upang sila po yung mag-review dahil expertise po nila yon. So again, hindi po siya depende sa bansa, kundi depende po dun sa topic na nire-report kung ano po yung tamang team na mag-handle po nung video nung video.
Ibig sabihin, Mr. Chair, kapag merong ganong nireport na isang video, pwedeng haluan ng mga Pilipino at hindi Pilipino ang magpapasya kung merong na-violate o wala ang ganong particular na video. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
Tapos sa tens of thousands, kasi naka-designate daw sila based on particular themes or possible violations. Gusto kong mas makoncretize para mas maunawaan po ng mga kababayan natin. Sa tens of thousands, paano sila nagpa-function? Paano nila na-systematize yung kanilang gawain? Kasi hindi naman po pwede na yung isang video lang dadaan sa mata ng tens of thousands para smoothly na magawa yung trabaho. So, para lang po mas specific, yon for one particular video na nireport, on average, ilang tao yung collectively mag-scrutinize nung ganong video?
Okay. Mr. Chair, so nabanggit ko po may mga teams po, di ba? So kunyari po kunyari po yung ni-report mo yung video for medical misinformation. So meron po isang team na sila po trabaho po nila yung mag-review nun, di ba? Kung sila po yung pwede mag-decide or pwede rin pong ma-escalate kung kunyari medyo komplikado po yung issue, pwede rin pong ma-escalate sa leadership. So kumbaga po, may layers of may layers of escalation, may layers of decision making. Pero kung malinaw naman po, pwedeng ma-actionan na kahit isang tao lamang po. Pwede naman po 'yun. Hindi po siya all the time na kailangan maraming tao po nagde-decide. Nangyayari rin po minsan, kunyari po na-escalate sa team nila pero sa tingin po nila walang violation sa kanila, pwede rin po nilang ipasa sa kabilang team. So kunyari po nire-review ng isang team yung content, sa kanila walang violation, pero sa tingin po nila, may violation to ng advertiser-friendly guidelines. Pwede po nilang i-endorse dun po sa kabilang team na nagre-review po kung yung video ay compliant po sa advertiser-friendly guidance. So meron din pong coordination na pwedeng mangyari. Lalong-lalo na po kung komplikado po yung video. Kunyari kung may halong violence, may halong hate speech, may halong medical misinformation, pwede pong maraming teams ang nagre-review ng isang video na nireport po.
So Mr. Chair, based dun sa paliwanag, merong vertical tsaka horizontal na pwedeng pag-assess ng isang video. So kung masyadong halata naman na hindi talaga totoo yung sinabi doon, halimbawa misleading or halatang mali talaga impormasyon regarding an election, so pwedeng isang tao pwedeng mag-take down. Pero kung medyo malabo pa na hindi pwedeng ipabay sa isang tao, pwedeng iakyat sa isang team. Ilan po ba yan? 10 tao? 20 ka tao? 30 ka tao?
Hindi po siya sa numero, Mr. Chair. Kunyari po, kailangan pong i-escalate sa mga medyo mas leadership team po. Yung mga medyo meron pong capacity na kapag decide kung medyo komplikado po yung issue. So hindi naman po siya abot sa 30 katao. Ano po siya, more on a leadership team na maliit lang po, kakaunti lang po, small group lang din po.
Okay, pag ano, Mr. Chair, actually, kaya din interesado ako na nandito rin sana ang representatives ng ByteDance na namamahala ng TikTok, tsaka ang ano din, Meta, in behalf of Facebook. Kasi aside sa YouTube naman, may mga instances din sa ibang mga platforms na may mga content na nandyan na, kumalat na, tapos either nahayaan na nandyan pa din or kung ma-take down, meron ng mga utak na nalaso nung maling nilalaman ng kanilang mga content. Follow up lang, Mr. Chair, paano naman kapag ad, so meaning nandyan ang isang particular video tapos mas marami yung reach niya dahil nagbayad yung kung sino man yung nag-upload. Pag ganun ba, ano ang ine-employ na standards kung nakita na worth it na i-take down yung ganong particular na video? Is it the same sa mga video na hindi ads or hindi nagbayad para ma-upload yung kanilang content?
Kung naintindihan ko po yung tanong, kung advertisement na po yun, normally iba po yung standards. Meron din po tayong tinatawag na guidelines para po sa mga all advertisements po. So iba rin po yung mag-govern doon. Usually po ito po yung mga talagang commercial ads po talaga, 'di ba? Yung talaga pong meron siyang either pinopromote or binibenta na produkto po talaga. Kung mapapansin niyo po sa amin, hindi po siya yung parang binuboost mo lang po. Talagang nagke-create ka po talaga ng content na talagang intention mo po ay maging advertisement po talaga 'yon.
And remaining questions, Mr. Chair, aside dun sa mga nire-report ng mga kababayan natin, paano naman kapag may mga content na hindi nire-report, meron din bang sariling inisyatiba ang mga nasa Google para magkaroon ng oversight dun sa mga content? Kasi lalo na sa panahon ngayon na meron talagang mga nag-employ, Mr. Chair, ng troll farms at pwede talaga bumuhos yung kanilang ina-upload na mga videos sa mga platforms. Tapos kahit sabihin pa, nandyan naman yung ating mga kababayan para i-report yan, pero hindi rin ganun ka-capacitated yung mga kababayan natin na lahat ng mga ganong binubuhos na content na naglalaman ng disinformation ay mai-report lahat. Lalo na kung napakarami din ng content na available sa mga platforms na ito, hindi rin natin actually makita lahat, no? Given how algorithms in the online world work na merong tina-target na mga specific demographics. Tapos lalo na in the past years, nakita natin, Mr. Chair, yung mga kababayan natin na unfortunately ay nabiktima talaga ng ganitong disinformation. Una, nakakonsume sila ng iilang videos lamang, pero dahil yun na yung napaniwalaan nila, ganun na na-shape yung kanilang perception. So, ibig sabihin na hindi sapat na merong report mechanisms, ano din ba yung proactive na ginagawa? At paano din nag-function yung ganong mekanismo ng Google?
Apo. So si Google po nagpa-publish po ng transparency report on a quarterly basis upang makita po ninyo yung dami, yung uri ng mga reports na tinatanggal. At sabi ko nga po, sa third quarter ng 2024, sa 9.1 million videos na natanggal, 9.1 million videos na natanggal, 97% po automatic system na po yung nag-remove. Kumbaga po hindi na na-detect na po siya ng teknolohiya upang wala na po makakita, upang mabilis po siya matanggal. So 8.8 million po automatic na flag, automatic po natanggal. Yung user reported po 225,000 lang po, 225,000 which is about 2% po nang natanggal. 2% user reported. And then yung na-report po siya ng organization or government agency around less than 1%, around 60,000 po. So, kung mapapansin nyo po, karamihan po talaga sa nare-remove sa YouTube ay automatic na po na-detect ng sistema. So, 97% po yung pagdating po sa number of views, sabihin ko lang po, pagdating po sa number of views, 0 views, 59% po. 59% 0 views, 1 to 10 views, 24%, 11 to 100 views, 8%, 101 to 1,000 views, 5%. So karamihan po talaga ay naitatanggal na po natin yung mga violative content habang mababa pa lang po yung views niya.
Final few points, Mr. Chair, regarding Sunshine Media Network International or SMNI naman. Dahil yung mga so-called anchors nito na sina Lorraine Badoy Partosa at si Jeffrey Celis, bagamat sa ngayon ay hindi na gumagana bilang isang network using public airwaves ang SMNI, ay meron pa rin siyang YouTube account na pwedeng meron siyang mga binabalita na pwedeng hindi pa mag-touch doon sa masasabi nating disinformation, pero ito kasi yung mahirap, Mr. Chair, kapag may mga gray area na pwedeng lumulusot, no? Yung mga sinasabi ng ganitong mga anchors na actually ay lalagpas na doon sa ano lang yung inaalaw ng bounds ng freedom of expression at ng press freedom. So, sa ngayon, edi pa siya ang Kamara before na actually nga ay i-revoke yung franchise, no, ng SMNI. So ang natitira sa SMNI ay yung kanyang mga online accounts. So meron din bang differentiation ang Google Philippines sa pag-monitor sa accounts ng mga ordinaryong kababayan or halimbawa yung mga gusto lamang mag-advertise ng kanilang mga binebentang produkto, ganyan, compared dun sa mga institutions talaga like yung mga nagpo-portray ng sarili bilang media or yung mga nasa government mismo. So, meron bang ganong pag-categorize? Kasi magkaiba talaga yung bigat kapag merong structured na nilalabas compared sa mga ordinaryong kababayan natin.
Mr. Chair, so ang sagot po dyan, dun sa mga, nabanggit po kanina yung authoritative content. So pag meron po tayong breaking news, yung algorithm po ni YouTube, pa-prioritize po niya yung mga news channels, yung mga authoritative sources po, 'di ba? So meron po tayong tinatawag na you raise po yung mga authoritative sources including government channels, media channels. So yun po pagdating sa mga breaking news, balita, health. So yung mga content po ng mga health authorities, nire-raise po natin 'yan, 'di ba? Pero pagdating naman po sa enforcement ng community guidelines, pantay-pantay lang po. So pagdating po sa enforcement ng community guidelines, ng advertiser-friendly guidelines, pantay-pantay po yan. So whether individual ka or big media channel, pantay-pantay po yung enforcement ng community guidelines.
So as I wrap up, Mr. Chair, tingin ko doon lang may kailangang pagbutihin talaga dahil while mga tao tayo lahat, pero pagdating sa kung sino yung mas may leverage para magpakalat ng mga ideya, lalo na kung yung ideya ay hindi conducive para sa democratic exchange of ideas at pwedeng magagamit pa nga para talaga manlinlang, magpakalat ng mali, tingnan natin dapat mas may accountability doon sa mga institusyon na pwedeng nagagamit yung mga platform, no, para sa maling mga kaisipan, no? And hindi pwedeng nasa balikat lang ito ng mga government agencies, pero may role din talaga ang mga platforms dito, Mr. Chair. Kaya sana sa darating nating mga hearing, meron ding makaupo talaga from Meta tsaka ByteDance na doon kung tingin ko ay marami ding kumakalat doon talaga na mga mali. Yun lang, Mr. Chair, for now. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Just an interjection sa question, Mr. Chair, if I may. Patanong
With
ko
the
lang,
indulgence of
with the
the
indulgence of
Honorable
Congressman Paduano.
Akala mo ba
Hindi, kasi tatanong ko lang,
Alas 9 na.
maganda kasi yung punto na kung saan, halimbawa, naglabas ng content na nakapanirang puri, no? And then suddenly the platform takes it down, no? But the damage has been done, di ba? So meron bang sistema ang platform to say that we took it down because of the following reasons? Is there such a thing na ganun technical capability yung platform to say the reason why we took it down is because one, may profanity. Number two, fake news. Number three, hindi verified or validated yung data. Four, it's just it's slanderous or libelous. Meron bang ganung capability?
Mr. Chair, meron po. So, kung pag meron po kayong video na may URL, tapos tatanggal po, naka-display naman po doon kung this video has been removed for copyright violation, this video has been removed for
Yeah,
violating
but there's no
community guidelines.
explanation as to why you found it a violative of a copyright law, di ba? Kasi hindi nyo naman ine-explain in detail kung bakit But, you know, the damage has been done. Nakapanirang puri na siya So, isn't there a logic? I don't know if this is kasi kayo lang hinandi dito, no? That's the reason why we want to ask you. Meron bang technical capability yung social media platform na, halimbawa, may nag-post ng content, no? I-review muna ng human reviewers nyo and your AI before you post it. Maybe i-delay mo lang ng few seconds or maybe a few minutes before before i-post or the platform allows the posting of such a content.
So, hindi po siya technically feasible sa dami po ng videos na na-upload every minute po. As in,
So, kasi nga, yung volume, no?
sa
Sheer
volume po talaga. Sa every minute po na nakakalipas, thousands of minutes of videos po yung na-upload, di ba? So, hindi po siya technically feasible on the part of any platform.
Sige, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Congressman Paduan.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
The Honorable Paduano is recognized.
Thank you,
Please
Mr.
make it
Chairman.
brief.
Yeah. In relation to the question being asked by the members, no? Kasi ganito po, social media platform is doing business in the country. Now, before I ask that, no, yung particular na opinion ng BIR, NTC ba nandito? NTC.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, good morning
okay.
po.
Before I give the floor to NTC, Attorney, is Google or any social media platform are public utilities? In your own opinion?
Sa definition po ng batas, hindi po.
Sa Public Service Act,
Hindi po.
hindi siya nakalista. Tama?
Mr. Chair, hindi po.
Okay. Now, NTC is social media platform, in this case, Google, Facebook, Meta, etc., are public utilities?
Sir, considering, sir, that they are not also their offices are not situated also in the Philippines, sir, we do not consider them as public utilities.
Oh, but they're doing business in the country. Malinaw yon. Di ba? Tama?
Doing business po kasi, sir, if I remember po, with regard din po sa BIR po, ang doing business po kasi means that they have an office here in the Philippines, sir.
No, not necessarily because doing business, kahit wala kang opisina, pwede kang kumita dito. Di ba? BIR, di ba? Ganon? Kumikita sila Di ba?
Mr. Chair, for purposes of classification of doing business, it is required that they must have physical presence in the country.
All the more that we have to amend. Di ba? Now, second, tama ka, Tony. Under the Public Service Act, hindi po malinaw na nandun yung social media platform. Ngayon po, Mr. Chairman, all the more that we have to amend that. Because in order for us to regulate such, that should fall under the public utilities. Kasi napakahirap po For example, NTC. Hindi nyo rin sila pwede regulate. Of course, KBP, before your member has to air, they have to apply for a frequency, di ba? Then you regulate if they're members of such radio station, for example, is a member of the KBP, tama, di ba? But of course, the regulatory power to issue a frequency is with the NTC, tama?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Kaya nga, Mr. Chair, siguro, dapat lang din po na we should amend the Public Service Act because a social media platform, in this case, Google, YouTube, and all other social media platforms are not included in the list of all public utilities under the Public Service Act. Kasi how can you regulate something which is not covered by a law? Except, siguro sa BIR kung kaya. Diba? Kasi nagdinegosyo Kumikita kayo dito. Diba? Attorney, I think it's just fair. Diba? Dapat bumayad kayo ng buwis. And also those content creator na pumapasok sa inyo, they have to pay taxes. Diba? And may coordination ba kayo with the local BIR or the BIR Central doon sa mga list of content creators? Wala.
Mr. Chair, klaruhin ko lang po. May mga regulations naman po sa Pilipinas that govern the social media platforms. For example po, yung kakapasan nyo lang po na VAT on digital platforms. Covered po doon ang YouTube, covered din po yung ibang platforms. So, for example po, yung batas po na VAT on digital platforms, covered po yung mga kahit non-resident po na mga digital platforms. So, doon po, pagdating po sa pag nag-impose na po si BIR nung regulation na yon, magko-comply po yung mga digital platforms. Another example po, yung bagong pasan nyo lang po na Internet Transactions Act. So, yung Internet Transactions Act na pasa po, I think 2023, covered din po kami doon. Covered din po ang YouTube, covered din po yung mga online platforms under that regulation. So meron pong mga regulation po na nag-govern ng mga platforms kahit po non-resident po.
Oh, yun pala BIR. BIR. Do you confirm the statement coming from Attorney Gonzales?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, what have you done?
Mr. Chair, considering that some entities are non-foreign and does not have any physical presence here, we, as per the tax code, they are liable for taxes insofar as all income derived here in the Philippines. So, however, since there are challenges insofar as collecting such taxes, considering they do not have any physical presence here, under existing rules and regulations, the income payers or those who, yung mga nagbabayad po sa kanila who are here in the Philippines should withhold the corresponding taxes before they pay them.
Sorry, to cut you short. But in the case of Google, they confirm that they have an office in the country. Are they paying taxes? Attorney, did you confirm? Are you paying taxes?
Mr. Chair, we pay all legally required taxes, Mr. Chair.
Based on your income?
Based on the activities of the entity po.
Yung mga ads,
So hindi po 'yan sa Google Philippines, Mr. Chair. Hindi po 'yan sa
doon
Google
na mismo
Philippines.
sa company?
Doon po sa mother company po 'yan. Kumbaga hindi po sa Google, sir, hindi po sa Google Philippines. Yung Google Philippines po, wala po kaming hindi po kami si Google Philippines does not own nor operate the platform po. Nandoon po sa US po yung mother company. So kung ano po yung legally required sa Google Philippines ay binabayaran po ni Google Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, Mr. Chairman, we should also consider this now. We should ask the services or the help of the legal department with regards to this, Mr. Chairman, so that we can legislate laws that will really regulate such, no? Itong pinag-usapan natin. Lastly na lang, attorney, for example, content creator, no, nag-post siya, then it was taken down. What are the penalties in your end? May mga penal provision ba yung regulations nyo?
Opo. So una po, pwede pong, yung unang-una po level is natanggal po yung content, na remove po yung content, 'di ba? So yun po yung isang parang basic level po. Pero according po sa monetization policies ni YouTube, pwede pong ma-withhold, adjust, chargeback, or offset earnings or payment. Pwede pong malimit yung ad revenue sa mga videos. Pwede pong masuspend yung channel from the YouTube Partnership Program. At ang pinaka-penalty po na pinaka-mataas na level po ay suspend or terminate yung YouTube channel mismo.
Okay. Now, in the case of YouTube, mayroon na ba kayo na penalize, na suspend or na terminate?
Meron naman po. Meron po.
Can you give us the list? Yung listahan po ng mga content creator na na-suspend you or na terminate yung contract.
Hindi po yata naglalabas ng ganyan. So yung ang
Ay,
nilalabas
hindi
po
po.
ni YouTube po yung transparency report po na
Hindi po, sabi mo kasi kanina, when I asked you, you said that may policy kayo to suspend, di ba? Or to terminate. Now, tinanong kita, sabi mo may nasuspend na kami, na-terminate. Can you give us the list of all those content creator? Kasi po, in relation to the question being asked by Congressman Raul, for example, yung Celis, di ba nawala ang Isimenay? Ngayon may sariling account siya, nandun sa YouTube. Yung specific example, yung pag i-check mo, ang daming mga ano doon, mga statements coming from mismo kay Celes na derogatory. At tuloy-tuloy yun. Wala may isa mang na take down doon. Do you want me to show you?
so hindi po ako maka-comment on individual pieces
No,
of content.
that's why, yeah, we're talking is here of individual nga eh. Now, we ask you to submit to us all those has been suspended or terminated. Kasi mayroon tayo mag-usap dito na sinasabi nyo palitsi kayo, tapos may na-suspend kayo, tapos hindi namin alam. Now, cite an example that was cited also by Congressman Raul. Yung kay Celis, you check all the records. Ang daming derogatory statements siya na YouTube has done nothing on those derogatory statements from Celis. Now you're telling us na may regulation na, you implement those regulations? I think may problema kayo, attorney. Tapos sinabi mo, may na-suspend, may na-terminate, or are those suspended, or are those terminated? Hindi nyo maibigay? Attorney?
Mr. Chair, so si YouTube po naglalabas po ng quarterly transparency report. So banggitin ko lang po, yung Pilipinas po dito sa third quarter ng 2024, yung Pilipinas po, number 8 sa dami ng videos na natanggal. Ang numero po nakalagay dito, 181,841. So,
Iyon na nga eh. Pakisubmit nga, pati yung mga creators, content creators, kung sino-sino yon. Kasi we have to check, we have to follow. Kasi sinabi mo kanina may mga regulation kayo din, we will check. Di ba? Kaya namin i-check yun. Kung totoo nga. Sabi mo nga, 100, magkano, ilan ba yan? 181,000? But I never heard na may mga na-suspend or na-terminate na contract. And in the case of Celes, as was mentioned also by Congressman Raul, malinaw po. One example lang yun, ang dami pa. Kaya nga inibitahan sila dito for them to answer. Now, ito ngayon, nandito kayo ngayon, you're telling us na may na-suspend, may na-terminate, pero hindi nyo maibigay. Siguro naman po, before the next hearing, dapat magpadala kayo dito ng report. Mr. Chairman, may I move that to direct Google through Attorney Gonzales to submit to this committee all those lists being required by this representation, Mr. Chairman. So move.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is carried. Now, may I ask,
Mr. Chairman, last na lang po sa BIR. BIR, please also submit to this committee all those social platform content creator that has paid.
We will do, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
before we proceed further, please allow the chair to recognize the online presence of the Honorable Albert S. Garcia, and the Honorable David J.J. Suarez. Welcome po kayo. Attorney Gonzales, do you have a legal basis why you cannot submit the report as required?
Based on what I've seen po, we can endorse it to the legal team po for them to review the request. So kung meron pong letter from Congress, we can endorse it to the legal team po.
So,
Hindi po ako legal.
you have been directed by this committee to submit such report. And if you have any reason, legal reason why, then you should explain that. Okay? And you should know the consequences of not obeying the order of this committee. Thank you, Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, just, ano lang, Mr. Chairman, interjection nandun sa statement ni Attorney, yung sa legal. Attorney, this is an open hearing. Now, we don't need to submit or send you a letter requesting for that document because you are being directed. Now, the answer to you by the chairman is that if you have legal question, your legal question, you submit in the next hearing and we will see if indeed there is any legal impediment with regards to the request or direction being made by this committee to you. Not the other way around. I hope you understand, Attorney, you're a lawyer.
Loud and clear, Attorney. Thank you.
So, hindi ko inabot kasi kanina yung parang pinag-uusapan yung violations doon sa, kumbaga yung inyong standard na doon sa platform. Ano-ano nga po ba yung mga violations doon sa platform kung bakit tinitake down ninyo or upon reporting, tinatanggal ninyo yung post?
Mr. Chair, opo, meron po tayong, yung pinaka-first level po, meron po tayong community guidelines.
Community guidelines.
So sa community guidelines po, andyan po yung mga pinagbabawal po natin yung hate speech, election misinformation, medical misinformation, or child abuse materials. So yun po yung mga example lang po. Sa community guidelines po yun. Meron din po tayong mas stricto, meron po tayong advertiser-friendly guidelines. Ito po yung mga additional po na guidelines para po sa mga nagmo-monetize po ng channel nila. Kasi po, ito po yung kumbaga additional rules pa po ito. Para po yung mga nagmo-monetize ng channel nila, meron pong additional responsibilities po na naka-impose po sa kanila.
Okay. So you have the community guidelines at saka yung advertiser guidelines
Advertiser-friendly
po. So ito naman,
guidelines.
advertiser at the same time yung mga content creator.
Opo.
So they have to follow po yung parang, syempre kailangan din nila yung, first of all, merong dapat they follow also yung community guidelines. Di ba? So before, or sabay naman yung ina-apply ninyo. Okay? So yung mga hate speech, yung mga sinasabi ninyo against doon sa, hindi, sinabi na kanina to ni Congressman Barbers, yung tungkol sa mga pagmumura. Di ba? Yung pagsasabi ng threat. Meron ding threat na ganun eh. Well, siguro hindi sa inyo, hindi sa Google, Mr. Chair, yung nagpapakita ng video, Mr. Chair, na parang na-assume na mamamatay ka na. No? So, meron akong ganong pero mukhang hindi naman sa kanila. So, how do you consider that? For example, sa inyo yan, how do you consider that po? Kasi hindi sa inyo yan, sa ibang So, would you consider that as as violation from your community guidelines? Yung pinipretend na patay ka na?
So kung sa YouTube po, for example po, may nagsabi po na content creator na patay ka na po. So yun po ay isang example po ng election misinformation kasi po it goes to the qualification and status of the candidate kung kandidato po kayo, di ba? So yun po, madali po yun i-check. Tapos kung confirm po na buhay naman po yung sinasabing patay na kandidato, at yung content po na yon would be violative of the election misinformation policy at tatanggalin po yun sa platform.
So even if walang nagre-report, halimbawa may ganong content, even if walang nagre-report, you are checking the content. I know, thousands yan every day. So meron bang ganong initiative ang Google Philippines?
Opo. So, sa present ko po, Mr. Chair, 97% po ng natatanggal ni Google, ni YouTube, ay automatic na po siya na nadedetect. Meron po tayong 2% na galing po sa mga nagre-report. So, kung makikita nyo po, karamihan po, over yung malaking numero po, ay automatic na pong nadedetect. Pero, may mga kinds of violations po na yun po yung talagang kailangan may nagre-report po na user. So yun, sa numero po ni Google, 2% po yung user reported.
Okay. So meron kayong mismong mechanisms on your platform to detect or to determine that. Meron kayong mechanisms or you are sabi nyo kanina 90% you are monitoring. Tama ba 'yon? Kasi 2% lang yung parang nire-report eh. So, ibig sabihin, you have these mechanisms talaga to check yung mga disinformation or misinformation. O disinformation, kasi ano to eh, pag disinformation kasi, iba parang deliberately, no, na nagpapakalat ng mga maling information.
Opo. So, sa huling transparency report po ni YouTube, so 97% po ay na-detect ng AI or machine learning technology po. So 97% po. 2% po yung user reported. So meron pong mga sistema upang ma-detect yung 97% na violation po ng community guidelines ni YouTube.
So aside from AI, so how many % is human intervention here? Sabi niyo may AI. So ilang porsyento rito yung human intervention?
So sa huling transparency report po, sa lahat po ng tinanggal, 97% ay machine learning / AI detected, 2% po user reported, and then 1% po reported by
Or impersonation? Paano nyo po nadidetermine na merong violation on impersonation? So, ito ba, using lang yung mga trolls na nagre-report ng sabay-sabay o nag-i-inform sa inyo ng sabay-sabay? Kasi ganyan po yung experience na, hindi naman kayo, no? Kaya, Mr. Chair, sa Facebook kasi ito eh, tsaka sa Meta. Kaya gusto kong nandito sana yung Facebook and Meta. Kasi, Mr. Chair, 80 days suspended yung aking Facebook account ng Meta dahil sa impersonation. So, kaya gusto kong malaman din sa Google kung ano yung ibig sabihin nun. So, ayun po, Mr. Chair. Ano ba yung definition ninyo yan? Kasi yung kung ganun din ba sa definition ninyo doon sa Meta? Kasi wala namang misrepresentation, I think, doon sa aking account. No, kaya Mr. Chair, imbitahin natin talaga dito yung Meta at saka yung Facebook. So, Attorney Gonzales, so ano po yung sabi niyo po, sinasabi ko kanina, no, yung impersonation on your platform, how would you define that po?
Mr. Chair, ito po, basahin ko po yung impersonation policy, Mr. Chair. Content intended to impersonate a person or channel is not allowed on YouTube. YouTube also enforces trademark holder rights. When a channel or content in the channel causes confusion about the source of goods and services advertised, it may not be allowed. So, meron pong mga example po.
Okay, can you give us example?
Don't post content on YouTube if it fits any of the descriptions noted below. Channel impersonation, a channel that copies another channel's profile, background, or overall look and feel in such a way that it makes it look like someone else's channel. The channel does not have to be 100% identical as long as the intent is clear to copy the other channel. Another example po, Mr. Chair, personal impersonation. Content intended to look like someone else is posting it.
Okay. So, ako kasi tingin ko wala akong binabiolate doon sa doon sa ganyang definition nyo at kahit na definition in general. So dahil sinasabi niya Mr. Chair na dinidetermine ito ng AI yung impersonation, di ba kasama yan doon? So kapag merong nag-mass report niyan o mga troll farms na nag-mass report yan, automatic ba tinatanggal niyo yung channel?
Po, child sexual abuse content, automatic na po tatanggalin nyo. Hindi na po kailangan na may mag-usap-usapan pa po doon. Pero meron po tayo...
Doon na lang tayo sa impersonation.
Doon po sa mga ganyan pong impersonation, dahil napaka-importante po dyan yung konteksto. Napaka-importante po dyan yung history.
Yeah.
Napaka-importante po dyan yung is it satire? Is it... Yung mga ganun po. So, in higher likelihood po yan po yung merong human intervention na kailangan pong reviewin at pag-usapan dahil nga po pagdating sa impersonation meron pong clear cut, meron pong may kailangan ng konteksto po.
Okay. So that's the thing na naintindihan ko na yung sa YouTube. So yun lang po Mr. Chair kay Mr. Gonzales. Ni-raise ko lang ito Mr. Chair dahil meron talaga ako tanong dahil sa Facebook. Biro niyo po, Mr. Chair, yung aking channel, not channel, yung aking Facebook account o yung Meta account, ay sinuspend ako ng 180 days dahil dito sa rason na to, impersonation. So wala naman akong inaano doon, ni-impersonate or I am pretending na ibang tao kasi everyday experience ko na yun, nandoon. So yun na po, inquiry lang, Mr. Chair, kung ano na po ba yung status nung invitation natin sa Facebook or sa Meta? Kasi sinasabi rito, ang imbitahin natin ay yung Meta Platforms Incorporated, One Meta Way, Menlo Park, dito sa may California. So ano po bang ibig sabihin nun? So, di ba sila pwedeng magpaliwanag dito? At least man lang itong nagbigay sa atin ng sulat na ito. Dahil alam ko po pag merong nagrereklamo sa kanila na ganito, at ako magrereklamo ko, doon sa ginawa nilang pag-suspend ng aking account na 180 days, so biro yun, kalahating taon, suspended ako dahil sa impersonation. So gusto ko silang magpaliwanag kasi wala namang due process eh. Hindi nila ako binigyan ng rason bakit nila sinuspend yung aking account, Mr. Chair. So ano po ba yung status ng invitation natin sa kanila?
Well, the two mentioned social media platforms sent their excuse. Yun po yung we will tackle that during the time that we will shall we say tackle administrative proceedings in so far. That's why the reason. Any other member of this committee or the three committees who would have questions to Attorney Gonzales? Attorney, you're excused for the day. You can attend your next meeting. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I think the next interpolator is the Honorable Raul Manuel. You have the floor, Your Honor.